December 13th, 2006. Dawn breaks over the desert canyons of Utah. Extreme running champion Danelle Ballengee finishes breakfast, planning what should be just another routine training session, a simple 2-hour run through the familiar trails of Moab. But over the next 52 hours, her name will echo through every rescue dispatch across the American West. Between that morning meal and those frantic emergency calls lies a fall that will shatter not just pelvic bones, but everything we thought we knew about the limits of human endurance. The most incredible part won't happen at the moment of disaster, but when the last fragments of hope are nearly gone. That's when her 4-legged companion will do something that rewrites the textbooks on animal behavior. December 13th, 2006. Danelle Ballengee wakes up in her Moab, Utah home. The typical morning of a professional athlete starts long before sunrise, checking emails, responding to sponsors, mapping out training schedules, handling the mundane details of dealing with landlords. Danelle isn't just someone who enjoys morning jogs. We're looking at a genuine trail running superstar, 4-time champion of the legendary Pikes Peak Marathon, one of the most grueling mountain races on Earth. Her times command respect even from elite professional athletes. Today's agenda calls for a straightforward 2-hour run along familiar trails, standard training, routine stuff. But in 52 hours, rescue teams across the entire American West will know her name. Danelle loads her faithful companion into the car, Taz. This isn't your average dog. The 3-year-old German Shepherd Golden Retriever mix possesses incredible stamina and intelligence. He's not just a pet, but a full training partner. They've been conquering mountain trails together for years now. Taz knows every twist in the route, every dangerous descent, every steep climb. He runs alongside Danelle mile after mile, never falling behind, never losing focus. There's a special bond between them. Danelle trusts Taz more than most people, and he understands her without a word being spoken. Today they're facing their usual route, an 8-mile loop through the Moab trails. For a team like this, it's practically a walk in the park. And this is where Danelle makes a series of mistakes that nearly cost her life. She does something you should never, ever do in the mountains. Leaves her phone and wallet in the car, doesn't tell anyone her exact route, not even close friends or family. In her waist pack, she's carrying just the bare essentials: a water bottle, energy gel, MP3 player, and a lightweight rain jacket. Minimalist gear for what should be a quick run. She's completely confident, knows these trails better than her own backyard, has covered them dozens of times in all kinds of weather. What could possibly go wrong on a familiar route with such a reliable partner? But mountains are a treacherous opponent. They don't forgive overconfidence, not even from champions. And today, they've prepared a lesson that will change Danelle's life forever. The run starts perfectly. Danelle feels fantastic, muscles warmed up, breathing steady, every step effortless. Taz runs alongside in his usual rhythm, occasionally darting ahead before circling back to his owner. The first hour passes like clockwork. Familiar turns, trusted trails, comfortable pace. Danelle's enjoying the run, listening to music, thinking about upcoming competitions. Everything's going according to plan. But the mountains are setting their trap. When she starts climbing up a familiar slope, Danelle notices the rocks beneath her feet are wet, slippery. Light rain fell that morning, making the surface treacherous. But she's an experienced athlete. She can handle it. 1:13:20 p.m. A time Danelle will remember forever. She takes another step on the wet rock. Her foot slips. Just 1 second of lost balance. 62 feet of height. 62 feet of free fall among sharp rocks and jagged outcroppings. Her body slams against obstacles, each impact sending waves of pain through her, the world spinning in a chaotic dance of stone and sky. Then, silence. Danelle lies at the bottom of the canyon, unable to move. First thought, is she alive? Second, can she move? Taz is racing around nearby, whimpering, nudging his nose against his owner's face. He understands. Something's gone terribly wrong. Danelle takes a mental inventory of her body. Arms are moving. Good. Head's clear. Excellent. She's not paralyzed. That's the main thing. But when she tries to stand up, reality hits her harder than any fall. Excruciating pain shoots through her pelvis. Her legs refuse to support her body weight. Danelle collapses back onto the rocks, gasping from the shock of pain. The realization comes slowly, like ice water filling a container. Something inside is broken, seriously broken. She can't walk, can't stand, can't climb out of the canyon on her own. And there's no help coming, because nobody knows where she is. Danelle understands. Staying put means dying. She needs to move toward the main trail, where there's at least a ghost of a chance of meeting other hikers. She begins a torturous crawl across the sharp rocks of the canyon floor. Every yard takes superhuman effort. Pain pierces through her body with the slightest movement. Her hands scrape against stones, her clothes tear, but Danelle keeps crawling forward, yard by yard, inch by inch. Her meager resources, energy gel, rain jacket, and a few ibuprofen tablets. That's all standing between her and certain death. Taz doesn't leave her side for a second, as if understanding the gravity of the situation. He's not playing anymore. He's standing guard. 5 hours of agonizing movement, half a mile, a distance healthy Danelle would run in 2 minutes. Right now, it feels like infinity. By 5 in the evening, she reaches a flat rock next to a small puddle of water. It's a small victory, but at what cost? Her body is exhausted, strength nearly gone. But there's water, precious moisture that could extend her life by a few more hours. Danelle drinks greedily, knowing every sip is critically important. Taz lies beside her, never taking his eyes off his owner. Something has changed in his behavior. He's become more alert, more focused, as if sensing that he's no longer just a running companion, but her only hope for rescue. The sun sets, and temperatures begin dropping fast. 19 degrees Fahrenheit. For a healthy person, just cold. For injured Danelle, it's a death sentence. Hypothermia creeps in silently, first the shivering, then numbness in her extremities. Danelle tries to warm herself with exercises, clenching and unclenching her fists, tensing her muscles. But her injured body won't respond. The rain jacket was lost in the fall. The only source of warmth, Taz. The faithful dog presses his entire body against his owner, sharing his heat. His thick coat becomes the only defense against deadly cold. But even the dog's warmth can't stop the relentless advance of hypothermia. While Danelle fights for her life at the bottom of the canyon, a chain of events begins in the outside world that will lead to her rescue. Dorothy, Danelle's friend, tries calling her. The phone stays silent, once, twice, 3 times. Anxiety grows with each ring. Danelle always answers her calls, always. Dorothy dials Danelle's parents in Evergreen, Colorado. Her voice trembles with concern. "I can't reach your daughter. This isn't like her at all." Danelle's parents feel their blood run cold. They know their daughter, responsible, punctual, always staying in touch. If she's not answering, something serious has happened. Dawn of December 14th brings the illusion of improvement. Sunlight warms the canyon, temperatures rise. Danelle feels a surge of hope. Maybe things aren't so bad. Maybe it'll get easier during the day. Taz shows his unstoppable optimism. He runs around his owner, wagging his tail, as if inviting her to continue their run. His energy and love of life contrasts sharply with Danelle's helplessness, but trying to move shatters all illusions. The pain becomes even worse than the day before. Her body feels like stone, refusing to obey. The night in the canyon has worsened her injuries, and now every movement is torture. Danelle's condition deteriorates rapidly. Her body refuses to accept any position except strictly horizontal. The slightest attempt to sit up or turn triggers unbearable pain. She screams for help, but the sounds vanish into the canyon's emptiness. This place lies far from main tourist routes. The chances of accidentally meeting other travelers are virtually zero. Physical changes become frightening. Her body swells, skin changes color. Internal damage makes itself known. Danelle realizes she doesn't have much time left. And then something remarkable happens. Taz's behavior changes dramatically. Playfulness disappears, replaced by anxious worry. Danelle's parents waste no time. After Dorothy's call, they begin their own investigation. They call their daughter's friends, colleagues, fellow athletes. Nobody has seen Danelle. Nobody knows about her plans. Within hours, they contact the Moab police. The missing person report lands on Detective Craig Shamway's desk, an experienced officer who knows the terrain like the back of his hand. Shamway immediately drives to Danelle's house. His inspection shows she was planning a run. Athletic gear missing from her closet, running shoes gone too. But where could she have been running? Moab has dozens of trails, hundreds of routes. The detective begins checking popular running spots, one parking area after another. Most are empty, not the season for mass tourism. But at a remote parking lot near the Amasa back trails, he finds what he's looking for. Danelle's truck sits completely alone. Keys, phone, wallet, everything's inside. This narrows the search area, but also intensifies the worry. If Danelle left for a run without communication devices, finding her will be extremely difficult. Shamway calls search and rescue. The territory is massive, the terrain complex, and too much time has passed since her disappearance. Every hour of delay reduces the chances of finding Danelle alive. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the canyon, the morning of the third day arrives. Danelle's physical condition reaches a critical point. Her body is exhausted from battling cold, injuries, and dehydration. She can no longer maintain regular exercises to generate heat. Her hands barely respond. Her legs are completely immobile. Consciousness periodically clouds over, a sure sign that her body is starting to shut down non-essential functions. But somewhere deep inside, a voice sounds that won't let her give up. The inner voice of a champion, used to overcoming pain and exhaustion. It commands, keep moving, don't stop, fight to the end. Danelle understands. She has a few more hours left, at most. After that, there won't be a choice. In these critical moments, Danelle's thoughts turn to what matters most. She thinks about her parents in Evergreen, how they must be suffering, not knowing her fate, about friends who might have already started searching, about a future partner she never got to meet. The emotional agony proves worse than physical pain. The prospect of dying alone, in some nameless canyon where no one will find her, that's torture for the soul. Her parents will spend years waiting, hoping, searching for answers. But then Danelle's gaze settles on Taz. He sits beside her, watching with worry in his eyes. And suddenly, a desperate, almost insane idea forms in the athlete's mind. What if Danelle makes the hardest decision of her life? She has to send Taz to find help, the only one who stayed with her through these terrible days, the only one who's kept her warm and given her hope. It's like cutting away part of her soul. Taz isn't just a dog, he's her companion, her protector, her family. But right now, he's her only hope for rescue. He can run. He knows the way back to the parking area. He can find people. Danelle calls Taz over, looks into his eyes. Her voice trembles. Go, boy. Find help. Find people. Taz looks at her with confusion. How can he leave his owner in this condition? But there's something in Danelle's voice that compels him to obey. Taz sets off on his most important mission. He systematically searches the canyon, looking for any signs of people. His keen nose picks up scents unavailable to humans. He runs from trail to trail, checking every turn. But the canyon is empty. Tourist season is over. The weather doesn't encourage hiking. Hours pass with no help in sight. Taz returns to Danelle looking guilty. He couldn't complete his mission. However, something in his behavior starts to change. He becomes more alert, listening to sounds. His tail begins wagging slightly, not from joy but from some inner excitement, as if he senses something beyond human perception. And then something amazing happens. Taz's behavior changes dramatically. Anxiety gives way to strange playfulness. He starts wagging his tail with enthusiasm that hasn't been there for 3 days. Danelle doesn't understand what's happening. Her condition continues deteriorating, while her dog acts as if reason for celebration has already been found. Has Taz lost touch with reality from stress? But dogs sense what's beyond human reach. Their hearing picks up sounds at frequencies we can't perceive. Their sense of smell detects scents from miles away. And now, Taz senses the beginning of a rescue operation, long before the first rescuers appear in the canyon. Help is already on its way. All that remains is to wait. Grant County Search and Rescue deploys their operation at the Amasa Back parking area. This is an elite unit specializing in searches in complex mountain terrain. Every team member is a survival expert with years of experience. Finding Danelle's truck gives them a starting point, but the search territory is still enormous. Dozens of trails branch in different directions. Canyons, gorges, rocky labyrinths. Perfect places to get lost forever. The operation commander divides his people into groups. Each has their sector, their zone of responsibility. Time is working against them. The third day of searching means chances of finding someone alive are rapidly dropping. And then something happens that nobody expected. From behind the rocks appears a dog, big, shaggy, clearly exhausted. Taz. He heads straight for the rescuers, wagging his tail, whimpering with excitement. Experienced rescuers understand this isn't a chance encounter. The dog is behaving like a guide. He knows something important. His behavior shows both desperation and hope. One of the rescuers tries to pet Taz, but the dog dodges away. He doesn't want affection, he wants them to follow. Taz takes a few steps toward the canyon, turns around, looks at the people. The message is crystal clear. Follow me. The commander makes a decision that seems crazy, but might be the only right one. Follow the dog. In rescue practice, such cases are rare, but they exist. Animals have found missing people where professionals gave up. Bago Gerhardt, the most experienced tracker on the team, gets the assignment to follow the dog on an ATV. His instincts tell him Taz knows more than any map could show. Gerhardt starts the engine. Taz immediately takes off. He runs ahead of the ATV, periodically turning back to check if the human is following. His behavior becomes increasingly confident. He's leading the rescuer to his target. The path proves complex and non-obvious. Taz leads Gerhardt along trails that don't appear on any map, through brush, around boulders, along narrow goat paths. The ATV struggles to get through in some places, but the dog moves confidently, like a GPS navigator programmed for rescue. Every turn, every change of direction, everything precise and purposeful. Gerhardt realizes these aren't random wanderings. This is a route to a specific location. Taz periodically stops, waits for the ATV, then races ahead again. His movements show desperate urgency. He knows every minute counts. His owner is waiting and time is running out. Taz leads Gerhardt to the canyon's edge and stops abruptly. His behavior changes. He starts whimpering, circling in place, peering down. Gerhardt understands. Target reached. The tracker carefully crawls to the edge and peers into the depths, nearly 1,000 feet down, and there, on a flat rock, an unmoving figure in athletic clothing. Danelle! She's alive! Her hand weakly moves in response to shouts from above. The first words Gerhardt yells out, "We found you! Hold on!" Danelle lifts her head, and even from this distance her relief is visible. 72 hours of nightmare are coming to an end. Gerhardt quickly assesses the situation with an experienced rescuer's eye. The victim is conscious, good, can respond to questions, even better, but her immobility suggests serious spinal or pelvic injuries. Hypothermia is obvious. 3 days in freezing temperatures don't pass without consequences. Dehydration, exhaustion, possible internal bleeding. Condition critical, but not hopeless. Gerhardt immediately calls for a medical evacuation helicopter. Coordinates transmitted, landing zone identified. Taz sits nearby the entire time, never taking his eyes off the canyon. His mission is complete, but he doesn't relax until the very end. 50 minutes of waiting feels like eternity. 4 more team members with climbing equipment join the rescue site. Descending into the canyon requires professional skills and specialized gear. The sound of the helicopter becomes the most beautiful music for everyone involved in the operation. The medical team quickly rappels down to Danelle, conducts initial examination, stabilizes her condition. The ascent from the canyon is a technically complex operation. Every movement could worsen spinal injuries, but the professionalism of rescuers and medics makes the impossible possible. Within an hour, Danelle is airborne, heading to the hospital. At St. Mary's Hospital, the medical team is shocked by the extent of her injuries. That Danelle survived at all is a miracle in itself. Broken ribs, damaged vertebrae, multiple pelvic fractures. The worst part, internal bleeding. Over 3 days, she lost 1/3 of her blood volume. Her body had worked at maximum capacity, compensating for critical losses. December 19th in Denver sees the most complex surgery to reconstruct her pelvic area. Surgeons work for hours, literally piecing bones back together. Prognosis is cautious. She'll live, but whether she'll walk again is a big question. Taz waits for his owner at home, unaware of the medical details. He simply believes everything will be okay. Danelle's recovery becomes a new marathon. Only now she's running not on mountain trails, but through hospital corridors. 3 months in a wheelchair. Every day, a battle with pain, despair, uncertainty about the future. Doctors are cautious with predictions. Will she walk normally? Return to sports? These questions hang in the air like the sword of Damocles, but her champion's character shows even in the hospital room, from wheelchair to walker, from walker to crutches, from crutches to independent steps. Every movement comes through pain, every yard through "I can't." Taz stays constantly nearby, as if understanding the importance of this process. 10 months later, something incredible happens. Danelle stands at the starting line of a half marathon in Moab, the very city where she nearly lost her life. Her limp is noticeable, movements not as smooth as before, but she runs. Slowly, with stops, overcoming pain. Every mile is a victory over her own limitations. The finish line tape means more to her than any previous victory. Taz waits for her at the finish, wagging his tail with the same enthusiasm as 3 years ago. For him, there's no difference between a champion and a person who simply didn't give up. What matters? They're together again, a team again. Taz's story spreads far beyond Moab. The American Humane Society awards him the National Heroic Dog Award. This is the highest recognition for four-legged rescuers in the country. But even more important is the practical application of his heroism. Danelle's rescue story becomes part of search and rescue training programs across America. Taz becomes an example of what animals are capable of in critical situations. Instructors tell trainees, never ignore animal behavior at an incident scene. They may know something beyond human perception. Taz forever changed rescue operation protocols. Danelle makes a decision that surprises many. She becomes director of the Moab Trail Marathon, the very event she once participated in as an athlete. Her most symbolic decision, including the fall site in the official race route. Now, hundreds of runners annually pass by that canyon where she nearly died. A memorial plaque tells the rescue story. Participants stop, read, reflect on life's fragility and strength of spirit, about how important it is not to give up in critical situations, and about how sometimes help comes from the most unexpected source, from a four-legged friend who understands more than we think. Danelle's life changes dramatically after the canyon tragedy. She marries Beezy Laird, a man who accepts her exactly as she is now. They have 2 sons who grow up surrounded by stories about their champion mother and the heroic dog. The family opens a restaurant in the heart of Moab. This place quickly becomes iconic for athletes and outdoor enthusiasts. The walls display competition photos, trophies, and, of course, Taz's portrait in the center of the exhibition. Danelle continues competing in events, but now they're family trips. The children cheer for Mom from the stands while she shows them that limitations exist only in the mind. Her limp doesn't stop her from remaining an example of strength of spirit. The story of Danelle and Taz raises questions humanity has pondered for millennia. How well do we really know animals? Are they capable of conscious decisions, or do they act purely on instinct? Taz's behavior during those critical days goes far beyond simple reflexes. He systematically searched for help, assessed the situation, made decisions. When he sensed rescuers approaching, he changed his behavioral tactics. Most remarkable was his ability to lead people exactly where Danelle was located. Among hundreds of trails and thousands of turns, he chose the only correct route. Coincidence? Instinct? Or perhaps a real rescue plan developed by canine intelligence? Taz lived a long and happy life alongside Danelle's family. He watched her children grow up, saw her return to active life, witnessed their story, inspire thousands of people worldwide. His heroism became part of training programs not just for rescue services, but for animal psychology courses. Scientists still debate the nature of his actions, but the fact remains, without him, Danelle wouldn't have survived. When Taz passed away, Danelle said, "He taught me more than any human ever could. He showed that love and loyalty can work miracles, and that sometimes our four-legged friends understand us better than we understand ourselves. Sometimes heroes emerge from those we least expect." If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button.